Your one click on the subscribe button makes a huge difference. Thank you for your kind support.
Final Destination Bloodlines reintroduces audiences to the beloved horror franchise after a 13-year hiatus. But does it set the stage for future installments? While the film largely works as a self-contained story, several elements suggest that Bloodlines was designed to both honor the franchise's history and potentially launch a new chapter in the Final Destination saga. From the film's ending to subtle clues throughout, there are multiple indications that Death's design may continue beyond this sixth installment. The most obvious sign that Bloodlines could lead to another sequel comes from its ending. Unlike some previous Final Destination films that attempted to provide closure, Bloodlines concludes with Death's design fully intact. After Stephanie and Charlie mistakenly believe they've broken the cycle through resuscitation, they learn from Dr. Reddick that Stephanie was never actually dead when Charlie revived her, just unconscious. This revelation comes moments before logs from a derailed train crush them both, completing Death's plan for the Reyes family branch. This definitive ending for our main characters actually leaves the door wide open for future installments. By maintaining Death's undefeated status and reinforcing the rules of its design, Bloodlines reasserts the franchise's central premise: Death cannot be permanently cheated. This preserves the metaphysical framework on which future sequels could be built, confirming that the Final Destination universe continues to operate according to established principles. More importantly, the film introduces several new concepts that expand the franchise's mythology in ways that could be explored in subsequent films. The most significant of these is the idea that Death's design can extend across generations, targeting the descendants of those who initially cheated Death. This generational approach dramatically widens the pool of potential victims for future installments, as anyone related to survivors from previous disasters could find themselves on Death's list. William Bloodworth, J.B., emerges as a particularly intriguing character with sequel potential. Portrayed by Todd, who played the mortician in earlier films, Bloodworth is revealed to be a survivor of the 1968 Skyview Tower disaster, the same event from Iris's premonition. His knowledge of Death's rules and his history of helping others navigate Death's design position him as a potential recurring character who could connect future installments. Though Bloodworth claims he's retiring and ready to face his own mortality, his fate remains unresolved at the film's conclusion. His character represents a direct link to the franchise's expanded mythology and his insights into the methods for cheating Death, killing to take someone's remaining years, or dying and being resuscitated, provide narrative tools that future films could utilize. The concept of inherited premonitions introduced in Bloodlines also creates possibilities for future stories. If the ability to foresee Death's design can be passed down through Bloodlines, as suggested by Stephanie inheriting visions of her grandmother's premonition, then descendants of previous protagonists might develop similar abilities. This creates potential connections between future installments and earlier films in the franchise, allowing for a more cohesive extended universe. Interestingly, Bloodlines establishes that premonitions can manifest in different ways. Unlike the immediate, vivid visions experienced by protagonists in previous films, Stephanie's premonitions come as recurring nightmares over 2 months. This variation suggests that future Final Destination films could feature diverse types of premonitions, potentially expanding how characters receive warnings about Death's approach. The film also introduces the concept of Death targeting specific bloodlines rather than just immediate survivors of a disaster. This approach allows for stories set years or even decades after the initial premonition, creating flexibility in how future sequels could connect to established events. New protagonists wouldn't need to be survivors of the same disaster, but could instead be distant relatives of characters from previous films. While Final Destination Bloodlines doesn't feature a traditional post-credit scene, the final shot of the logs crushing Stephanie and Charlie serves a similar function. This abrupt, definitive ending reinforces the film's message that death cannot be permanently cheated while leaving the broader universe intact for future exploration. The lack of closure for supporting characters like Eric and Bobby's parents, or Stephanie's father Marty, also leaves narrative threads that could be picked up in subsequent films. Looking at the franchise's history provides additional context for Bloodlines' sequel potential. The series has frequently employed interconnected storytelling, with each film building on the mythology established in previous installments. Final Destination 5, for example, featured a surprise twist revealing it was actually a prequel to the original film. This tradition of connecting entries in unexpected ways suggests that elements introduced in Bloodlines might play significant roles in future sequels. The financial performance of Bloodlines will ultimately be the primary factor determining whether another sequel materializes. The franchise has historically been profitable for Warner Brothers, with relatively modest budgets yielding substantial returns. If Bloodlines performs well at the box office, a seventh installment becomes increasingly likely, particularly given the expanded mythology the film establishes. From a narrative perspective, several directions for a potential sequel emerge from Bloodlines. One possibility involves following new descendants of Skyview Tower survivors who weren't part of the Reyes or Campbell families. The film establishes that numerous people were saved by Iris's warning, meaning many other bloodlines could potentially be on death's list. Another approach might explore the first method of cheating death mentioned by Bloodworth, killing someone to take their remaining years. While the characters in Bloodlines reject this morally compromised solution, a future protagonist might make different choices, creating a story that explores the psychological and supernatural consequences of cheating death through murder. A third possibility involves William Bloodworth himself. Despite his claim that he's ready to die, his extensive knowledge of death's design and his connection to the Skyview Tower disaster position him as a character with unresolved potential. A sequel could explore his backstory in greater detail or follow him as he reluctantly helps a new generation of death's targets. The concept of inherited premonitions could also drive a sequel, perhaps featuring a protagonist who begins experiencing visions related to a disaster from a previous Final Destination film. This would create direct connections to earlier entries while expanding the franchise's exploration of how premonitions work and why certain individuals receive them. Director Zach Lipovsky has expressed interest in continuing the franchise, noting in interviews that Bloodlines was designed to both honor the original films and introduce new elements that could be explored in future installments. This deliberate approach to expanding the mythology suggests that potential sequels were considered during Bloodlines' development. The ongoing popularity of the Final Destination concept also works in favor of future sequels. The franchise's distinct premise, death systematically hunting those who escape their fate, remains uniquely terrifying and versatile. Unlike slasher franchises tied to specific killers, Final Destination's antagonist is death itself, an inescapable force that can manifest anywhere and through any means. This flexibility allows the series to continually reinvent itself while maintaining its core concept. Social media reaction to Bloodlines provides additional evidence of sequel potential. The film has generated significant online discussion, with fans analyzing its connections to previous entries and speculating about possible future directions. This engaged fanbase creates a built-in audience for potential sequels, increasing their commercial viability. While Final Destination Bloodlines doesn't explicitly announce or tease a seventh film, it carefully preserves and expands the franchise's mythology in ways that leave numerous possibilities open. By introducing concepts like generational death design, inherited premonitions, and expanded methods for cheating death, Bloodlines creates a richer universe with numerous storytelling avenues for future exploration. Whether these possibilities materialize into actual sequels depends primarily on the film's commercial performance and studio priorities. However, from a narrative perspective, Final Destination Bloodlines successfully bridges the 13-year gap since the previous installment while establishing a foundation upon which the franchise could continue for years to come. Death's design, it seems, may be far from complete,